There are two kinds of salvation open to humans. One that comes from the heavens, from the stars, either by virtue of gods coming again or by alien societies revealing themselves. The other salvation, let us call it the second foundation, after Asimov's great tale of the two foundations restoring harmony to the galaxy, comes from within and below. The second foundation is an expression of what we humans have deep in our psychology, and we can see it represented most clearly in film. The countless narratives where the rebels to the political order hide out underground and plot their coup d'etat or their transforming labours. In film as well as in literary narrative, these rebel hideouts tend to be enormous constructions, impossibly complex. I'm thinking of the recent Interstellar, for example, where NASA rebels have somehow constructed an underground industrial facility completely in secret that hides not only a Saturn V-like rocket, but space station constructions, and, one presumes, all the supporting manufacturing facilities that such things require. In the Hunger Games, the rebel group hide out in an underground bunker the size of a skyscraper, as deep as an office building is tall. In The Matrix, the rebel humans seem to live in an underground city housing thousands of people. In an earlier film from the 50s, The Forbidden Planet, the long-dead aliens on a deserted planet lived in underground caverns too enormous to grasp, but with energy supplies and machinery still working. Even the first science fiction movie by Georges Méliès, Journey to the Moon, had the secret moon inhabitants, the Selenites, living in great splendor underground. These rebel societies are underground because underground is still the place of choice to hide things. Dense matter may protect you from the dangers of space, like gamma rays or solar storms, but it also covers a multitude of intentions, good or bad, from eyes, from radar, from the sensors of unwanted inquiry. The narrators of these stories paint vivid pictures of larger-than-possible communities dedicated to replacing the everyday, overt, on-the-surface society gone to the bad, with a righteous and virtuous world, and where wrongs are not simply righted but avenged. It is as if the open air, the massless space, has degraded the human spirit, and only the heated, concentrated, unlit force of life below is pure and transformative. This modern myth reverses the roles of Hades, of hell, and digestive Christian burials. Underground is hope, the true Pandora's box. The second foundation is our unconscious, darker version of the second coming, arriving not from an ethereal space apart from and above us, but from the very surface we walk on, from the nuclear drama of mass converting into energy, and where the tunnels give rise to earthquakes to break apart that surface, to destroy and replace everything we know. Yet perhaps the human imagination here is more right than we realize. If the chronolith theories are correct, then the future does tunnel out of the depths of the mind and into the present moment. Far from representing a fear or a danger, the underground communications are the means by which we invent and create and move forward in time. Underground is where it all begins. The surface is just a précis, 3 dimensions into 2, of hidden volumes, or an anchor to those leaps into the spaces, brief and unsupported, of astronauts and twinkling satellites. What are spaceships but sections of tunnel? What are rockets but the burrowing machinery excavating pathways in the fabric of time and space? When we go to planets, we will burrow underground again to survive, root ourselves into that aboriginal volume where past and future time combine into the energy of motion. I am walking along a wormhole. Only this is an ordinary wormhole that joins up two sites on the same planet at the same moment in time. Wormholes in space-time, as conceived by physicists, are rather different. Yet, every place joins up at least two other sites in times and spaces, and one of the basic ways this happens is through probability. Whenever we make an observation or a measurement on a random process, a raft of values one step ahead of us in the future, but not chosen by the observation, become one step behind us in our past. We can describe this effect as interference between waves, but really there is just one wave of probability going back in time. It is probably the case that much of our consciousness arises in a brain where some parts are effectively working backwards in time. Quite simply, if memories are frames, their return into consciousness would, just like a film strip, have to run in reverse order to how we perceived them in order to create the forward-running time in our awareness. So an important question becomes, is backwards-running time the key to consciousness? This channel of probability carries more information than just these nearby interference effects. The track of an object or a person in space-time is called a world line. We will call the narrative of an object or a person as it interacts with the world lines of others a timeline. Humans live out their lives in timelines. Timelines contain all those effects of your presence in the world, your influence. For most of us, our influence on the timelines of the world is minimal. Our presence doesn't last, except in our children or in the objects we make that survive us. Leonardo da Vinci still has a presence in timelines, even though his world line ended long ago. In fact, our timelines are made up a bit of his. And in fact, for most people, timelines are very much less personal than we like to think. It is what having culture means, being imbued with others' timelines. It is easy to imagine how human development, how historic events and the grand patterns of social evolution might be directed overall by the future generations, but less easy to observe interference in any individual life, seeing we are less able to see how some chance occurrences of our lives are being beyond simple accident. How could we know whether decisions we ended up making had little to do with our free will and everything to do with decisions made in other times and by others with their own agenda? Following this line of thought, we are drawn to the distinct possibility that we know more about the future than people of the future know about their past. Our predictive capacity contains fewer uncertainties than our interpretive capacity. The gambler knows more about the future outcome of the bet he has made than he knows about why the outcome occurred. Explanations are always provisional, whereas imagining forward, as it were, contains more truth.
I am travelling along a tunnel.
It performs like a wormhole, even though it only connects two sites on the same planet and at the same time. There is sand and stone above me, but also a body of water where sea and river mix. This tunnel is buffered from the universe. This could be a tunnel of detectors searching for neutrinos or perhaps the Higgs boson. But this tunnel is also the world line of my existence. Thinking forward, my timeline has a limit. Its influence runs out somewhere after I die, where there is no memory remaining anywhere of my existence. Beyond that is an entire universe without me, that would appear never to have known me,